Good evening to one and all. So, to begin with today's session, I would like to introduce you all with our eminent speaker for the day, Dr. Ankita Singh. She's a Vice President and Global Head of HR at Cygnus Datamatics. She has over 19 years of progressive experience in managing and leading various aspects of human resources, spanning across high paced business domains of ITES. She holds a PhD in management and is a gold medalist in BBA as well as MBA. She has excelled in establishing innovative and competitive initiatives and institutionalizing a strong performance driven culture at Cygnus Datamatics, which has resulted in the company being certified as Great Place to Work 2017, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20, and 2021. She has been awarded a lot of awards, around about 50 awards in various domains, and has been awarded amongst Forbes India's top 100 Great People Manager by the study conducted by GMI India. Her expertise includes transformational and change management and M&A initiatives. She believes in driving organizational culture and value through people, not processes alone. Apart from her professional excellence, Ankita is very active in supporting social causes by working closely with various NGOs on child education and development. She is an avid traveler and a passionate photographer. With this, I would like to welcome you, ma'am, to today's webinar. I request you to please take it forward and share your valuable insights with all our students. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. And good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Hi, Aniket. So thanks so much. I know, at least for us who are working professionals, Saturdays and Sundays are little boring to sit for anything which is more to do with mind. So I really want to thank each one of you and Alpa ma'am for organizing this session. Though I have made a presentation which is right in front of me, but I'm not portraying it on your screen because we end up reading, and I intend not to make it a monologue, because what I have seen whenever I have interacted with students and whenever I have taken feedback post session, most of them said, "Ma'am, you spoke for 45 minutes. Probably we didn't want to hear all that." And my energy goes for a toss, and at the same time you don't get to hear what you want to. So though respecting the topic, I'll quickly cover a couple of points so that we have a base, and then I would request all of you to parallelly just think about the questions which you would want me to answer, which are more practical, which probably bothers you, or you seek answers to. So to start with, the topic, which is future of work, I mean, I would say that we consider it to be too optimistic, if at all I'd be able to define the future of work, because we don't even know what's there for us tomorrow. We are just living in today. We have no clue about the next 4 days or 4 weeks or 4 months. So future of work in general is completely going to be different from where we are now. The skill sets, the workforce, the workstations, the workplaces, everything will have a much newer picture than what we can see now. To give a um, you know to give a statement or to give you few figures that this is how it will be in 2025 or 2030, probably I can take supportive data from good research like McKinsey reports and all. But trust me, things are changing at such a humongous pace that we don't know where we will be tomorrow. But obviously, I mean, as they say, we cannot just sit back and expect things to happen. We have to do our bit. It is, as it's always said, it's better to prepare and prevent than to repair and repent. So we will be talking more about the first part, which is how we can prepare ourselves, or what is the intuitive future of work as per the data or whatever we hear around us. And I'm sure whatever I have seen, whatever I have heard, whatever I have spoken, researched, you have equal access to all that information. Everything is very much on internet, but you know keeping these two things together, whatever I have heard or whatever I have known, and what we are practically doing with respect to our organization, keeping future in mind, is something which I'll try and mix and share with each one of you. So, as I said initially, the future of work, obviously, when we talk about work, it's work, then workers, and workplaces. So, there is a lot of gap as far as work, the kind of work is delivered, or the kind of work each individual is doing. Few is definitely getting disturbed by the automation, which is rigorously growing every single day. And at the same time, as the report says, by 2025 or 2030, 87% of manual jobs would not even exist. And the other report, which says the 75% of what we are doing probably would not even exist. Those skill sets would not be used by anybody. So that's the gap, and that's the future of work per se. When we talk about workers, legally everybody is bounded, right? So if I'm working today with Signex Datamatics, probably tomorrow, if at all I want to contribute somewhere else working from home, I'm sure I have a little bit of extra time in my hand. But if I know there is a interesting project where I can contribute little well, but it is with some other organization, can I get into that work mode? Probably today, no. But tomorrow, when we are talking about boundaryless organizations, when we are talking about boundaryless employment or jobs, tomorrow it is going to be possible. I'm sure each one of you would have read a lot about gig economy, gig workers. It's not new, obviously, with Meru, Uber, Zomato. Things were already there, but at a very lower scale, where more than specialized jobs, it was more of helping the unemployment part of India. But now, when we talk about gig economy, even the critical positions or niche skills will also be taken care. People will be parallelly working for 4 to 5 organizations. And trust me, when I used to talk about this particular thing 9 to 10 months back, we used to say that it will be evident by 2025 or 2030, but a lot of organizations have already started doing that. So workers, when we say shared workers, companies are sharing good resources. We have gig workers, we have subcontractors, we have full timers, we have interns, we have proportionate workers. So you work for 30 percent, you get paid 30% in terms of salary and remuneration. So all those aspects are changing, and that's going to be much more defined in the coming times, where people will be able to select job as per their preference. Not everybody will be talking purely about job security, but people will be more inclined towards the value they are getting out of it and how they are able to contribute the same to the organization. And as rightly said by many of us, I think, in the industry, there was a time when we used to say that a person has completed 15 years, and we value the existence, right? We used to give so much importance to the tenure based awards. Now trust me, it's purely performance. Obviously nobody is disrespecting people who have existed for ages in the company, but at the same time, that's not the criteria for giving them recognition. It's completely the value that you bring onto the table. So it's going to change drastically. Probably you must have heard people are already talking about the percentage of workers in the company versus the permanent workers. Obviously it's cost effective. There are unmatchable benefits of gig workers or independent workers. And tomorrow, with respect to workers category, if you ask, as per my study, I would see 50 to 60% of it moving towards gig workers or independent or shared workers. Third aspect is about workplace. I'm sure anybody and everybody who has come across and spoken to all of you about work from home and work from office, many people would have said that we have already started planning, if at all few of our employees can work from home even after this COVID era is over. And trust me, that remains the fact. Many of the organizations are already planning. um, So there will be no set pattern. It's not that 50%, 50% or 60-40 or 70-30. It's going to be more of a hybrid model, which will be as per the nature of the business. But yes, the components will be completely different. Few will be working from office, few will be on rotational basis, few will be working from home, few will be shared resources. So obviously there is a possibility that one employee may work at 3 different locations in one particular month, or as they say, you can work from anywhere, home, office, any other office, doesn't matter. It's just your machine and you. So that's going to be a new workplace, and a lot of people have already started quoting whenever I ask them, so where do you work from, office or home, and they say from my laptop. Rest of the things, they actually don't matter. So that's going to be the fact of the matter. Now when I talk to you guys with respect to future, obviously you're still doing your course, probably you got into few of the internships, multiple internships, couple of trainings, project works, but you're still not out there. So if at all I get too deep in the future of work with respect to professionals, I don't think that will add much value. But still, few four basic things that I would want each one of you to keep in mind, which are the key parameters or key pointers for the future. One is adaptability. As I said, no second day is same. Like, they say that whatever the clock clicks, whatever is the time today, it's going to be a different one the next second. It is same with respect to work, with respect to workplace, and everything around us. There is no certainty, and trust me, even if COVID is gone, things are going to change at the same pace, because we are now talking more about automation than just human driven processes. So let's be prepared, let's be ready to change and adapt to the current situation, the situation or then situation, as and when required. Critical skills, obviously the core remains core. Whatever is your technical core skill, you have to be great at it. I would not say good at it. Just ensure that you know everything of what you are there for. You have to be an expert. I'll cover a little bit more about campus thing a little later, where I'll talk a little more on this. This is just the upper layer, upper crest. So third is focus on humans. We have been talking about technical skills, but what about human skills? I have come across a lot of students and they say, I know a lot of HR people, they've been talking about being empathetic, but what does that mean? How do I become empathetic? I know the definition, but how do I practice it in my daily life? Trust me, there are courses. We were told that leaders are born and they are not made. That was a myth. Leaders are made every single day. You literally can make or transform a person from being a team member to a team manager to a team leader or a mentor or a counselor. It's completely possible, and it has to be done in a particular fashion, but everything is possible. So if at all you are concerned about human skills, if at all you are concerned about how I can show empathy, how I can understand what other person is feeling, because obviously what I hear and see is what I get. I mean, how do I decode the internal feelings? You probably have to find that collaboration connect. You have to be with that person, you have to talk to those individuals, you have to get into the same situation to understand the entire scenario. And trust me, machines will always be there. Automation is not going anywhere. I'm sure you must have heard it from many people that whatever the 87% that initially I shared, anything which will be practically possible to do by or through a machine will be replaced. We will exist only for human skills primarily, or niche skills, obviously. I mean, if at all I'm in HR, a lot of us who are in HR may disappear until and unless you also know how to use people analytics, right? You also have to get into numbers. Just saying that I'm really good with people, you know what, my nature is really good. I don't shout at anybody. I smile at every individual. And that's why I will be able to sustain in HR. That is not going to happen. You have to have the core, base of HR. And at the same time, the need when we are moving towards technology, each HR individual has to have technology information. There has to be, as they say, internet or tech literacy, which has to be a very prominent part of HR. We should be able to decode the numbers, those keep popping up on our screen. Doing mere analysis won't, or doing sorry, merely collecting the data won't help. We'll have to do analysis of the same, and we'll have to strategize and present it to the management. And this is not only with HR, this is with everybody, and this is practically possible, only possible when you understand humans, when you understand the emotions, when you understand the machine, as well as they say, mind and heart both has to be considered together. And the last, which I considered, which I covered in a phased manner, embrace technology. There's no running away from technology. That's the fourth and the key point. This COVID, I'm sure you must have had multiple sessions or lectures in past as well, where a lot of us talked about VUCA world, where we talked about impact of technology. I think these were two topics I spoke most on before COVID, and that remains as is. I think VUCA we have seen in COVID, impact of technology we have realized in COVID. Forget about others. If I talk about my own organization, we had planned few things to be initiated in next 2 years. 25th March, when the door was knocked by COVID, and suddenly we were said that, you know what, you're just going back home and working from there. Those 2 years actually converged and became 2 weeks, and everybody was working from home. And that was the speed. So we human beings, we definitely need that push, but we could survive. Probably we were not too pushy about those things, but we were, technology wise, we were capable. Those things should not be ignored, be at an individual level, at org level, at group level. You have to accept and embrace the use of technology. You have to get used to technology. You have to take it as one of your primary skills. Imagine tomorrow you step out for an interview and your, trust me, we also ask this question: how good network connectivity is at your place? Do you have your personal laptop? What model do you use? Are you comfortable using phone as well as your laptop at the same time? These are the questions asked in the interview, and probably these are the first few questions, because there's no point in asking 10 different things and knowing how much value you can add to the organization. If you think, you know what, ma'am, I should be taken, I should be hired, but yes, I stay in a place where there's no network, so just give me 5 months. Once everything is back, I'll come to the organization, I'll prove myself. That's not going to happen. So if at all we have defined a ladder for ourselves, if at all we know how and what the future is going to be, trust me, you have to shift from your place if you think it's not enabling your dreams or your vision. No excuses will ever be entertained. Not, don't mistake me. When I'm teaching empathy, it's not that I don't understand your situation, but I'm just giving you a real picture. We are talking here about business, right? So when you want to join an organization, they will say, yes, I understand, don't worry, when we get back to office, we will contact you and we will call you and we will offer you a job. But for those 5 months, they will immediately shift to a person who's capable of delivering it at that point in time, because here we are understanding people, but we also have to take care of the business. Now you have to take that decision, that you want to be understood or you want to be a part of the journey. So these are the four factors which will definitely impact the future of work. Now, the top 10 future of work defining terms, which I will just run through, because while I was talking on other slides, few I have already touched upon. Work from anywhere. So definitely that's the first thing. There will be hardly any restriction because of COVID. 80%, 100% has already been proved. There are few sectors where there are limitations. They will remain as is, but even there, in manufacturing firms, also 40% or 50% have been identified, which can be worked, or which can the work which can be done from home or from any other location. Second good thing, second point, we have more opportunities. Please don't get boggled by these statements when you get to hear from other people that, you know what, COVID has taken 80% of jobs. Further, automation is going to take 20% and we'll be left with nothing. That's not going to happen. There will be ample opportunities because every day people are getting into business. There are more entrepreneurs than the employees, right? And the moment you get into your own business, you take that path, you not only create a job for yourself but for others as well. And that's the path that India has taken. In addition to that, with respect to language, with respect to technology, with respect to our skills or our preparedness to change, we excel. um, if at all we have to be compared with other nations. So trust me, opportunities are in abundance. Only catch here is you have to be prepared. It's not that every door is made for you and you will fit in and you will pass through. Every day door is very much tweaked in, it has its own shape. You have to identify your door, you have to get into that shape to enter that door. So please do not take it lightly, but at the same time, don't get demotivated if anybody on this earth says there are few opportunities and there will be fewer opportunities tomorrow. Trust me, jobs are gonna increase in humongous order. Tomorrow we will have much better opportunities than what we have today. Third is more choices, which I will not touch upon. It's more like more opportunities. So instead of just defining, like when we were there, we were told go for HR, stick to HR. Now I take care of multiple functions or all enabling functions of my organization, but I wish I had this opportunity when I started my career 20 years back. At that time I was told just to focus on one thing. Why I am not saying focus on one thing, that's something which I'll include or talk about in my last slide. Gig I have already covered. Please be ready to explore gig model. Don't get worried that tomorrow, if at all I'm not a full timer, I don't have a life. Even contractors, even gig workers, probably giggers, they get more to do with experiment. They get more choices, they have more opportunities. They can very well take a break in between, do something which is very much required for that point in time, upgrade or upskill themselves, and again join something which is much more attractive and makes sense to them. Balance versus integration. um, how many of you, if I'll ask question, but I'll leave it. We all have believed that balance is equally important. I'm sure, Alba ma'am, is everybody studying or attending these sessions from home? Nobody is coming to
Yeah, it's all virtual sessions, virtual classes as of now.
virtual classes. So is it difficult to be at home and study all the time? Is it difficult sometimes to tell parents that, I have to attend this session, I can't eat right now, don't disturb, please let me at least complete my assignment. I know this is late, but I have to do it. I'm sure it happens, right? Every single day. That it's same. We dreamt about balance. We thought that when we are at work we will be at work, when we are at home we will be at home. There will be no overlapping. Trust me, with this COVID, that has been washed out. It has to be more of integration than balance. Throughout the day you have to work, throughout the day you have to take care of your family, throughout the day you have to take care of your hobbies. You have to time your schedule as per your preference, keeping in mind that what all things you are into, you are able to do justice. Don't um, bite a bigger piece, as they say, then you can chew, right? So get into only those many things that you can manage well, because things are not going to get comfortable anywhere. You know, in office also it's going to be a mixed bag, at home also it is a mixed bag. And tomorrow people do talk about multitasking. It's not only the expectation from the external world, even we mentally are in that mode where we have started multitasking, even, you know, without realizing us doing that. A sixth part is virtual. So, you know, I still remember when it was the first month of our lockdown office phase, and my employee engagement head, she called me and she was like, Ankita, we used to do these monthly activities for engagement. How do I connect with employees now? The answer could have been, we can't do it because obviously we are all online. But the answer had to be, figure out your ways, because there's, again, as I said, there's no running away. Virtual is the new real. You have to make your interactions, your communications, the way you present, the way you talk to people, the way you look at people, the way you understand from their expressions, you have to make this screen a real world for everybody, for all your initiatives, for your interviews, for your interactions, for your lectures, for your projects, whatever you name, you have to make this virtual a more real scenario in your life, and it has to be accepted. Seventh is surviving skills. Four C's, nobody would ever be able to do without them. One is communication, second is creative thinking, fourth is critical thinking, and third is critical thinking, and fourth is collaboration. One more which I have added is coexistence. Obviously, collaboration and coexistence, I would not say they are same, but they are very close to each other. Coexistence becomes very important with respect to technology as well. There is no human or technology. Now everything is human and technology. And communication definitely becomes the base of everything. And communication, again, is in the last slide. Innovation is the sixth thing, and human skills that we have already covered. Eighth point is, do not shy away from the prefix re, re, be it reset, be it reboot, be it reskill, review, rephrase, redefine. No matter how many words you can pick which defines your activities in your life, don't shy away from putting a prefix re. Reason being, every day is a new day. Every day comes up with a new expectation. Every day has its new own challenges. There is a possibility that whatever we define today, which probably is the best option for today, may not even remain valid for tomorrow. Only solution is just be comfortable in pressing that reset button and start again. Do not be too rigid to get yourself stuck there that you find difficulty in moving, because rest of the world probably will be 10 steps ahead if you immediately do not restart your system, if you are not able to fit the need of that particular day. So do remember the prefix re. No matter how many times it is required, just keep doing it. Ninth defining term is adaptability, that I have covered a bit earlier as well. That just be ready, you know. I think I have given this example earlier as well, that you have to be more like a water, right? So containers are getting changed every day. When you talk to Alpa ma'am, probably her expectation will be different. When you talk to your parents, their expectation is different. When you talk to a corporate person, their expectation is different. Obviously, institute, home, organization, you have to ensure, even though our basic nature is the core nature, but when you talk to Alpa ma'am, you have to mold yourself as per the requirement of the college. When you talk to Ankita, you have to mold yourself with respect to Signex Datamatics, because here we are talking more about work. When you are with your family, it has to do more with emotions, understanding. So that's the reason I say you have to be more like a water. No matter where the container changes, you just mold yourself, fit in that model for that particular time without compromising with your core values. So we know water wherever you will put, even through gaps, it will find its way out. It will never be stuck or stable, but it will never lose its composition. So stay as is, but at the same time, adapt, change as much as it's required, looking at the current scenario. 10th point is technology, which is virtual and digital, be it your studies, be it your office tomorrow, be it, so three pillars that we consider for corporates, which is communication, collaboration, and connect. So we have always, at least in our organization, we have always thought that if you take care of these three pillars, work, culture, employees, client, organization, everything is very well taken care. But to enable these things in the organization, as on today, fortunately or unfortunately, technology is the only source. I was just yesterday, I was talking to a college where they said that, how do we prepare for campus? Obviously, we don't know. Earlier, when we used to be there in our college, we used to have our group discussions. That was much more engaging. Today, sitting back at home, we don't feel that great. I mean, the interactions are not that engaging. I understand, even we don't feel great while working from home. The team spirit, just going and patting somebody, saying that you did a good job, all those things are missing. But the fact is, can we change it? We can't change it. So we have to find better ways, instead of complaining, to strengthen our powers or our needs, instead of thinking that probably I'll put in a little more efforts when things go normal. There are a lot of companies who are supporting, who let you take online exams, who let you face a real time interview, who let you take these technical tests, and they give you the scores. A lot of these things should be used by students to ensure that they are prepared, and that's only practically feasibly possible because of technology. So if at all, I'm sure none of you, probably people at with our experience or at our age, we are more ignorant of technology. You guys, I'm sure you are not ignorant, but whatever level you are at, please add two more levels to it with respect to technology. Just become an expert when it is about virtual and digital world. That's the need of the future. So this is about in general where we are headed. Now, before I open it for questions, I was just writing an article for one of the magazines, and I had written, they had asked, what would you suggest for campus interviews? And I know future of world or future of work for you will be defined little later, but more than that, you are worried, what about campus? When tomorrow we sit for campus interviews, no company is coming. Will they be coming? Obviously, they'll be coming. They'll find their own ways to come to you in an online manner. But yes, companies will be coming. There are jobs, and things are already 30 to 40% back to normal, where everybody has started recruiting, where everybody has started with campus, process. So that will happen. But when I was asked, I said campus is all about, those six alphabets. And I'll just quickly share one, which is the second time, which is communication. A lot of worthy students fail to make a mark if they can't proficiently communicate in English. No matter how great we are with our core subjects, if communication is not at par, there is no scope. So we may think I'm an expert, we may think that I'm best at HR or IT or marketing or whatever subjects we have selected. But tomorrow, if you want to excel anywhere, English is must. I also very proudly say, Hindi आती है तो हिंदी में तो बात करना चाहिए. That's our language. But when we talk about globalization, when we talk about getting more opportunities, when you start interacting with everybody around the world, Hindi is not something which will support you. Hindi will definitely, it has to remain close to our heart. But when we again talk business, it has to be English. Please invest. I was told, even I believe that, you know, at this age, once you are 20, 22, 25, how do I improve my English? It is very much possible. I mean, I cannot take a session on this, otherwise Alpa ma'am will just probably throw me out of the session. But if at all you seek any help, I'm just right there. I'll share my email ID, but it's very much possible. And along with the tech savvy point that I said, English is the second point which I would request all of you to not take for granted. Please focus on that. So out of campus, C is for communication, A is for awareness. All whys should be defined, right? Deep dive and be aware of your intent, what you want to do, what's your choice, the company, the way you have drafted your resume, the content, and more importantly, about yourself. Needed or not needed, one should be able to share the purpose of every planned act or selection, right? So tomorrow when you sit for an interview, if you are asked why you have done this, why you have selected this, an answer, you know what, because of COVID I couldn't explore other option and that's why I did this, or I am thinking of just trying this option, will not take us anywhere. So simplest thing in our life, we have got enough time. Let's be aware of each and every move, and at the same time, all the environment, be it your institute or the organization you're planning to apply for, be aware, learn more about it. M of campus is merit. So the core competency sets the base, as I already told. By not being good with basics, we can't claim to be great elsewhere. When I was doing my MBA, I was doing my MBA when it was long, long back. I think 2000, 2003 or so. At that time, we MBIs were called as jack of all, masters of none. I'm sure everybody must have heard this phrase, right? And we used to proudly say, come on, I mean, we at least know HR and we are master of HR. But probably, yes, nobody was. But I think looking at the current situation, when I talk about merit and the way things are changing, the way we are expected to multitask, the way we have to be ready for each changing day, I think jack of all, master of none is a gone back thing. Today, either it could be master of one, jack of all, or it could be master of few and jack of all. It cannot be master of one or master of none. So you have to select your phase and be, when we say talk about merit, one core subject is perfectly fine, but there has to be few more in addition, so that tomorrow, if at all we again fall back in a situation like COVID-19 where we are lost, you must have seen those plug and play devices, right? Wherever you want, you just plug them and they are ready to perform. That's what we should intend to become. P of campus for me is persistence. Stay there, stay hopeful. I think it's a difficult time for everyone because of COVID-19, and it will be a newer phase for everyone tomorrow because of the online shift. Just keep investing well in yourself. Keep adapting to the change and keep trying. Don't worry about things those are not under your control, but at the same time, whatever is within your control, when I say invest in yourself, please don't take it for granted. Don't ever think that I have enough time, and you know what, there's no clarity, vaccine to nikla nahi, world is going to wait for 8 months, so main 4 mahine to I can rest. Don't do that. Every single day is precious, every single second is precious. Whenever, whatever can be done with respect to upskilling, with respect to putting that little positiveness in your profile, in yourself, please don't miss that chance and just stay hopeful. You in campus is uniqueness. So a differentiator does the magic. If tomorrow I come to your campus and I want to select 2 people, 200 people appear for the interview to get selected, the reason being differentiator. the uniqueness, right? So strengthen, if at all you already know what you're unique with, or discover your uniqueness. If at all we think जितने ये लोग अच्छे हैं उतने ही तो हम भी अच्छे हैं, तो you remain with that lot. If at all you want to get picked up, you have to be better than your peers or your um, co-people. So a healthy competition, that's the reason we say it's must. You should know the strengths and weaknesses of yourself as well as the people around you, because when you are running a race, it also matters who all are standing next to you and can you perform better than them. So do identify what's unique in you so that you can stand out from the crowd and stay relevant, stay smart, and so that whenever there is a single person to be picked out of the crowd, you can be seen, you can be noticed, instead of just getting simply lost. Last is a word which we use every single day. S of campus to me is strategy. Corporates eat and sleep with the word strategy. In colleges, I don't think I used it that much, but I want you to use it. With strategy, though it may sound like a very heavy word, it's nothing but plan. So those 4 Y's and 1 H, which I learned long back: why, when, what, where, and how. Have actionable items defined against each of these. Any, no matter where you are, always have your current location. How many of you, when you go to a newer place, you all use GPS? I do use GPS. You all use? Yeah. So we put the location, right? So probably that's the company name or the companies you want to join. Then the second thing which it shows is your current location, where you are, right? This is the place, and then it shows you the different routes. One where road is not that great, second one where it's a linear road but it's a good road, and the shortest route probably through a village, a very shaky drive, but it'll take to your destination really fast. I think the same concept has to be applied in the career as well, where your current location is your capabilities, your limitation, understanding who you are, where you are, your career map, which is where all you want to go, which are those companies which you want to target, and a GPS system which shows the different directions to reach there. Then you have, probably when you have these three things right in front of you, you will be able to zero down to one particular thing which will take you to the right place at the right time. Because we all know directionless approach is very very deviating. It cannot take us anywhere today or tomorrow. So do strategize. Don't think it as a management word which we keep coming across in our marketing and HR books. Start planning your life ahead of where you are today. So these are the 6 components of campus that I wanted to share. I am done from my side, but before I open the floor for questions, I would want a small help from your end. Everybody can type in this chat window, right? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
So who all have heard the story of the hare and the tortoise? किसी ने नहीं सुनी बचपन में वो कछुए और खरगोश की कहानी? So I can see only 7 videos. बाकी लोगों ने तो बंद करके रखा है. So I can't even see if you are nodding. But out of 6 to 7 people, even Alpa ma'am is not nodding. Ma'am, have you heard about that?
Yes, I tell the story to my 3 years old kid.
You do that, right? Okay. So Neha has joined. Neha, सुना है? Yes, ma'am. Okay. So what do you remember from that story? What's the moral of the story? I want you to quickly type that in the window. Story का moral क्या था? I'm perfectly fine. आप हिंदी, English, बस यही दो. No third language known. So any of these 2 languages, I'm perfectly fine with. Whatever you have learned or the moral of the story. Slow and steady wins the race. Keep moving. Working hard is not important. ये किसने? अनिकेत? किसने सिखाया?
Ma'am, working smart is very important than working hard.
Absolutely, yes. But don't say that working hard is not important. वो तो फिर meaning ही दूसरा हो गया. Working hard सब कल से बंद कर देंगे. Slow and steady wins the race. Great opportunity takes time. Never underestimate to our competitors. Very nice. Good. So I think everybody will agree to it that we all learned that slow and steady wins the race, right? That was the at least basic thing. Simple twist. I don't know. I have a, like Alpa ma'am, I also have a very small daughter. She's hardly 1.5 years old. Not that she understands the story, but I was narrating her and I suddenly realized when I related to the corporate world, the tortoise won the race. Tortoise won the race because of tortoise capabilities or because of hare's mistake. You can write or you can say whatever you can type in the window. Why did the tortoise won the race? Luck. But luck why? I mean, is it because the hare slept in between or took rest? Was it not his mistake, hare mistake? Overconfidence of the hare, yes. Tortoise kept moving. So I got three answers: luck, overconfidence, and tortoise kept moving. Quite clear. Till this point, we are all on the same page. Now the last question. Do you think now the hare has realized because I slept in between, the tortoise won the race? Second time, can tortoise tell hare, you know what? I won the race. Let's have another one. What will happen? What will happen then if hare, obviously hare was upset. We all have read the story. Hare was very upset that I slept and I should have not done that. And tortoise was aware that because he slept, obviously I got lucky. I won the race because I was continuously moving. Everything is perfect. Next time, can tortoise hope that he will tell hare that let's run this race once again? And do you think tortoise will win the race? Survey says no. Anybody who thinks, I think most of us, even I know that tortoise will not win the race. What I'm trying to tell you here is, one is, as Aniket rightly mentioned, one is confidence, the other part is overconfidence. When we are running a race, it's very similar to our corporate race. It's very similar to what we do on daily basis. It's very similar to what we do in our colleges or institutes. When we run a race, we have to understand who all are standing next to us. When we decide to take the organization I want to join, we have to understand how capable we are. I'm not demotivating. I'm motivating in a sense that if at all you know that this is the organization I want to join, you have to ensure that you are at that level. We will always get upset if at all we identify something which is practically not doable, right? Because we thought others are able to do it. If there are 10,000 employees already working in that organization, even I can be part of it without doing anything. No. With investing in yourself, with understanding your competition, with having good knowledge of all the situations, with having awareness about the organization that you want to join, with proper homework, you will definitely be a part of that. So whatever race you want to run, I would just say always understand who you are running with, what you are running for, and what are our capabilities and limitations. There is nothing bad about it. Trust me, the more we know about ourselves, we will be quicker in taking right decisions and we will be much faster in excelling the road that we have taken. So know your competition. Neha has written no tortoise will not say because he is aware that he'll not win, as rabbit will not make the mistake next time. Absolutely. So it doesn't happen. Not sometimes we get lucky, but not every time rabbit will sleep. And we should not be wasting our time, no matter how many times we try. लगेगा पहली बार तो जीत गए थे, सेकंड टाइम में भी कुछ कमी रह गई होगी, थर्ड टाइम करते हैं, 100 टाइम्स कर लो, बट जीतने तो रैबिट ही वाला है. सो you just have to know yourself really well, invest at the right time, at the right place, and trust me, there are enough opportunities. And to conclude at least my part, I would say never underestimate yourself. There are enough opportunities. You may not get selected at the first go. There is a possibility that even 10th interview you may get a no, but that's perfectly fine. There, it's not every time that students are bad. There are limitations on hiring as well. If I come, when we go to campuses, literally I tell my recruitment head that what, these 80 profiles are good, and he would come back and tell me, but we have to just take 5. So it's not about those 75 students who are not good, but looking at the score, the JD and aptitude test, obviously as per the score and obviously the personal interview, people get picked up. And that's where I talk about differentiator. Do focus more on what you are practically doing, how you are contributing to the society as well. When tomorrow things are open and people ask you what did you do through COVID, trust me, it will be 100 times better if you tell, I did this for society, I did this for my family, I did this for my friends, and at the same time, this is the time I invested in myself in addition to what college was doing for me. So I have taken these online courses, I have interacted with these industry people, I have identified these few HR heads or marketing heads as my mentors. I have done these 3 projects with these organizations that will definitely fetch you more scores, and it will become much easier for you. So that's it from my end. Thank you so much for your time. Happy to answer any questions if at all there are any.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Guys, I would request you to put in your questions in chat box. This is the best time to interact with the HR to know, the hiring possibilities and the patterns, and definitely is going to help you a lot. Ma'am, meanwhile, students put on their questions. I have something in my mind because we know that how campus placements are going to happen this year, and how the scenario is all about. The only thing I would like to know what kind of, because generally we know companies come on campus, we have APTI, we have GD, we have PI, and then the process on, and and how is that going to impact this year in terms of placements, and what are the things students should be focused on? What other thing they should keep in in the mind to get ready or to prepare themselves for hiring?
So I think I covered it in bits and pieces somewhere or the other. We have already started doing that. We have already started with online processes. So we are conducting online tests, and students are appearing for it. The interviews are happening online, virtual interviews are happening, telephonic interviews are happening. So all those things are already in place. How students can get ready for that phase, I don't think fundamental things have changed. Basics are basics, they are as is. The only thing which has changed is again the technology part of it, and it has in a way made it more easy for us to evaluate students, because all these tests can be run multiple times whenever and in whatever quantity it is needed. Students, they just have to get comfortable with the new process. Don't stay rigid. Change as much as it is required. When you are, as I said, the last part of my session, where I said, when you are asked what did you do, be clear about your investments, be clear about yourself, what did you do in this entire scenario, when we talk about last 6 to 7 months, what do you intend to do in your future? You have to be ready mentally and physically, instead of cribbing or instead of being sad about the fact that COVID hit us. And you know what, ma'am, recruitment or campus is going to get affected heavily. Trust me, it's not only campus, it's not only students, everybody. We are releasing employees, we are hiring employees. A lot of organizations, they have released 1500 employees in a day, and at the same time there are other organizations who are recruiting 400 to 500 employees every single day. So it's a life cycle, and everybody is going through that churn. Don't assume, don't get affected by what is happening in the world. Having knowledge about it, information is good, misinformation or misinterpretation is wrong. So know what is happening around you, but at the same time, take accountability of your life, take accountability of your career choice. And when tomorrow you are right in front of your HR person for an interview, just ensure that you are giving best of yourself, because you have invested really well in past few months. You know that there is nothing that they would be able to say that why didn't you do this. Instead, you should be able to say that I did these 10 to 15 things.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. We have question from Akshay. I think the question is, what is the meaning of flexibility in working industry?
So Akshay, flexibility is, you know, it is linked to so many things. When we talk about working industry, flexibility with respect to work, as I said, boundaryless organizations or boundaryless jobs, flexibility in terms of coming to office or not coming to office and working from home. If at all, you can just probably add, or you can unmute yourself and ask your question. I would be able to answer and in much better manner, because I'm not able to relate flexibility with respect to what you are trying to check on.
Akshay?
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, Akshay.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, flexibility is a skill which are required in company most of the times. You are always flexible. Most of the organizations you tell us, but what the meaning exactly? You have been flexible in your work and in your daily basis.
Okay. So when we are talking about flexibility in terms of adaptability, as I said, so for example, Alpa ma'am, here we have HR students, technical, or
We have senior students, which we have HR, marketing, finance, mix, and international business, and batch first year students also.
mostly business enablers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
Okay. So I'll not take example of IT, because I was about to talk about IT. So when you talk about, so for example, I'll talk about myself. So when I started with HR, and I was taking care of employee engagement, right? It's a very small function of your entire HR gamut. But then next phase was, suppose there are people in my team who have been in the same organization for 25 years, and they're still handling the same profile PF. Age is probably 51 already, he is still handling PF. Tomorrow, company has kept him for one reason, because obviously he is too old and he has been from day one. That's perfectly fine. But imagine a anybody of younger age saying that I'll do PF for 8 years, and suddenly you have a software which will do PF for you. What will you do with that individual? But if that individual says it's not only about PF, I can do comp and ben as well, I can take care of employee engagement, I can take LND as well. More than that, forget about if I've already done these profiles or not. More than that, I am ready to explore, and I know that I'll be able to contribute. That's important, and that's what we talk when we mean when we say flexibility. So as I said, I started with HR apart, and then I took over HR, but I realized that that's not going to take me any further. You always reach a point where whatever you have done in HR, you can't do, and you have a team right behind you who are doing everything, and probably you're just taking a system and don't know. As I said, that word strategy, you are strategizing, but you don't know what to strategize on. For 9 hours, you can't sit and strategize on HR, and that's your working hours, coincidentally. So that's how I started exploring, can I handle travel, can I handle admin. IT, I have no link with IT. I don't even know what do we mean. If at all, an employee would come to me and say, you know what, Ankita, my system is not working. Can you do something? And I would say, yes, I can just call my IT guy and direct him to you. Nothing beyond that. But am I learning? Yes, I'm learning. I am getting into those discussions that why are we procuring these machines? Why machines are different for delivery people? Why machines are different for support people? How many machines are there, and what has to be removed after 5 years? Which are the software? Which are the antiviruses that we are using? I had no reason. Nobody gave me that push that, Ankita, you have to take care of IT. Nobody assumed. I think my chairman asked me, why do you want to take care of IT? Admin travel is good, fine, but IT is completely different. You have to have that passion, or you have to have that agreement with yourself that these are new things I have to take up. I did it for a very simple reason, and I have always believed tomorrow, if I resign, I'm not resigning, obviously, 16 years I've completed, but my logic is very simple, that tomorrow when I resign, people should feel bad. Not in the sense why she's running away, but they should be able to say these two statements, that yes, one, she contributed, and now that she is handling 8 departments, how do I get a person who will handle 8 departments? So um, you know your journey becomes challenging, but at the same time your replacement becomes difficult. And to survive in this situation, you have to have more knowledge. Don't forget my jack and master quote. Probably that would answer. Either you have to be master of few and jack of all, and that's the best way to survive. So just be flexible. Jitna seekh sakte ho, jo bhi kar sakte ho karo. I don't remember the author who said this quote, but somebody said there are few people. There are two types of people. किसी को हम पूछते हैं, can you do this? And that person would say, I have never tried it. I don't think I'll be able to do it. There's a second section who would say, I have not done it, but yes, I will try it. Always be part of the second group. Just give it a try before assuming or before questioning your capabilities, and that defines flexibility.
That's great. Thank you. We have one more question from Aditya. Aniket has asked one question is like, what skills? I'll just reframe his question. It seems like the advanced or the upgrade skills we need to know to be a part of a good organization.
Technical knowledge, obviously, that becomes remains the core. In addition to that, communication has to be really good. At initial level, I would not say managing a team, but at the same time, coexistence and being a team player. Not every time we are right. I'm sure you all must have seen that 9 and 6 example, right? The person on one side sees it as a 6, and the person on the other side sees it at 9. When you work with a team, you should be able to get into a consent, come in the center, and agree that from there it was looking as a 9, from there here it was looking like a 6. But the fact of the matter is, somebody has written that. It's not about these two perspectives, it's about the reality check, what it actually is. And as a team, you have to come together and understand, decode it, and deliver. So communication, coexistence, collaboration, those 4 skills, 4 C's that I spoke about, creative thinking, anything, Aniket, that a machine practically cannot do will be a great help for each one of us with respect to organization. But that's what I'm talking about, a futuristic approach. But at this point in time, along with your core basic technical knowledge or your core expertise, do not compromise on communication, collaboration, and coexistence. Just um, we have to learn to be human. We have to understand how to operate and work with humans. That solves 90% of our issues.
Okay, I'll take a one last question here from Aditya. I'll just reframe his question. Which are these key skills, the student should possess from HR's perspective to be, unique format of him?
So I would say analytics, HR analytics, or people analytics. That's really really important. You should be able to, as I said, decode the numbers. Because of technology, everything is real time. So those days are gone when we sit across the table and make Excel sheets. Everything is right there, so even your expressions are getting recorded, and HR keeps getting those pop-ups on their system that this is the overall health of the organization or emotional quotient of the organization for today. You should be able to decode that. You should be able to use that data and draft your strategies and policies and processes accordingly. So if at all you talk about just one skill, I would say analytics, be it related to people, organization, or HR. And one additional thing I would say, when though we are in HR, obviously we are supposed to take care of human resources, but always have a holistic approach. It's not only about taking care of people, ensuring that they get salary on time or they feel happy when we do all these engagement activities. It's about linking business strategy with people or to people, right? So whatever business intends, until and unless we link our HR initiative with business strategy, it's not going to be a win-win situation for anybody. And tomorrow employees will be at loss, be it training, be it development, your org chart, your career path. Everything is very business centric, and HR should be taking care of that in a more holistic approach. So HR is not only human resource, it is enabler for the entire organization, and each and everything in and around should be considered.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ankita. And with this, I would like to conclude the session. And I would like to thank Andrea from Vidyalankar School of Business for your time with the schedule. You have explained, the details, future of work from the HR perspective. I'm sure each expect, what you explained was so much in detail that students and I even, failed to ask questions. What next? Because you have covered each and every aspect in detail. And I'm sure, thank you so much again. And we would look forward for further collaboration as well with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks to each one of you for joining the session. It was really nice, and extremely sorry. Apologies that I couldn't join the last time, Alpa ma'am.
Yeah, it's okay. I understand. Thank you so much for your support.
Take care and all the best, everybody. And I'll just put down my email ID as I promised. So, in case if I can be of any help, do let me know. Yeah. All right. So I'm just a mail away. In case any help needed, any guidance needed, feel free to reach out. All the best, everyone. Take care, and Alpa ma'am, take care of yourself, daughter.
You
And
too, and your daughter as well.
thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you
Bye
so
bye,
much.
everyone.
Thanks. Yeah, bye. Take care.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.